Epstein's Island appear. So it's kind of interesting. God is important, and God is extremely required to restrict people. But if you take the God out of the element and you only use society to try and restrict the sexual desires of people and tell them they have to be monogamous, you're going to end up with more degeneracy than if men were allowed to be polyamorous and have more than one wife. Goal. Is their end goal the sexualization of children? Is their end goal 12-year-olds to sit there and watch pornography and want to have sex? Is their end goal to confuse 12-year-olds to want them to try and change genders? Is that their end goal? I don't know. Is that why they take down the country's flag and put up another flag? This is another thing you have to understand. We talk about the Western world being fallen.
Do you mind moving that mic towards your mouth?
We talk about the Western world being fallen. What even is the culture of the Western world anymore? We have gang signs, and we have frozen food, and we have the pride flag. What else? Like, what even is there anymore that unifies us in any regard? I mean, I think, I'm pretty sure, and I've never tested this, I don't want to find out, I'm under enough matrix attacks, but if you were to burn an American flag and burn a pride flag, you do more time for burning the pride flag. It's a hate crime. So you have to actually then understand is, okay, if this is destroying society, is it being done on purpose? And what is the end goal of it? And who's doing it in the first place? And then it gets really scary. I agree with everything you're saying about pornography, and I agree with everything you're saying about monogamy. I'm just trying to analyze the world and how it actually functions, and how do you fix these things? And the 3 lives are, first you get canceled and banned absolutely everywhere, and the second life is they try and put you in jail for something you didn't do, and then the third life is they assassinate you. And I'm now on my second life, as most people have experienced in real time. I got banned because I became monumentally popular. I became hugely successful. I became the most Googled person on the planet. And then they make up a reason to get rid of you. And I'm banned on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Uber, Airbnb, Gmail, WhatsApp.
You can't get an Uber?
I can't get an Uber, no. Gmail, WhatsApp, you name. Yeah, I mean, I made some satirical jokes, of course. And
Could you give me an example of something that you've said that you may have crossed the line?
I don't think I ever said anything that truly crossed the line. I'm going to stand by this because I don't believe in regrets, and I don't believe in sitting here and saying sorry for anything, because I'm not a coward. If I made a video 10 years ago that got 84 YouTube views, and me and my brother were joking about how women can't park and women shouldn't drive, and then I became the most Googled man on the planet, and then that is found, and then a bunch of feminists get upset by it. I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up over that. That's life. Oh, well. Shit happens.
But also, like, stand-up comedians make the craziest jokes. Like, I was in a comedy club and they're already making jokes about Palestine.
Of course. I mean, comedians make jokes and rappers sing about murdering people. So it's completely a double standard to come along and say that whatever I said was enough reason for me to be canceled.
Well, that scares me, because censorship is the scariest thing to me in the world. At what point can we not worship our God?
My phone, the day the cancellation started, I'd open my phone and app by app, one by one, logged out, logged out, logged out. Logged out, logged out. And in sync, I was sitting there for 2 hours, and every 20 minutes, a new one would just log out.
Were you scared?
I knew the Matrix was real. I knew how the Matrix operated. I knew that there's a centralized power. I was scared because I knew I'd used up my first life. And then I started saying on all my podcasts, they're going to put me in jail for something I did not do. When that happens, you have to know it's a lie. And I said it about 15 times. And then 7 months later, I ended up in a cell. So I understand exactly how the world works. So yeah, I was scared. But I also believe, and I draw a lot of strength from my religion. We talk about God. I think God gives you strength. And I also believe one of the primary objectives of a religion, which ties back into what we were saying earlier about how the world could be fixed if men and women stay together and monogamy. I think the primary objective of a religion is to preserve a culture. If a religion doesn't preserve the culture, then it's failing in some regard. You should look at a religion and look at the culture underneath that religion and say, okay, it's a successful religion because the culture is adhering to its creeds. So I understand that it is my battle, if I believe in God, to try my best to preserve the culture. And then you're asking, how do I fight the Matrix? I think you fight that via masculine empowerment, and I'll tell you why. Because we were just sitting here talking about how the devil uses fear, and you're completely correct. And I think that women are easier to scare than men. And I think that now we live in a society, especially in the West, where women have been empowered to the point, well, I'm not against female empowerment, I'm not a misogynist, but they've been empowered to the point where they're more powerful than men in most scenarios. They're more powerful than men in the divorce court, most powerful than men in the custody court, more powerful than men in terms of the education system, more powerful than men in terms of their testimony, more powerful than men. I'll give you endless examples. If 10 men get murdered, nobody cares. If 10 women get murdered, it's going to be a national news story for weeks. Their life is more valuable. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be. It always has been, because they can create life. My point is, we now live in a society which I believe is a matriarchy. It's feminized. And men are feminized by extension. And men being feminized means that women are in charge and women are fearful. So let me give you a very simple example of why I believe masculine empowerment is how we actually get closer to God and how we fix the fight we're in against the Matrix. COVID was emotional arguments. They came along and said, your grandma's going to die. The old people, your grandma, your grandma. They used emotional arguments. Emotional arguments to create fear. That works on a woman. A woman sits there, I love my grandma. Most men would sit there and go, wait.
Let's just chill.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Grandma's already 94. Grandmas die. So I don't think we should be taking our kids out of school. Let's just calm down. Men are more stoic and more patient. If you had a household where the man's been feminized and the woman's in charge, it's over for that house. They're full COVID cucks head to toe. 10 vaccines. They are. If you had my household, where my girlfriend ran in, did you see the news? Shh. Shut up. This is stupid.
Okay,
and then it's fixed.
So wait.
But this is the point. Fear. You're
yes.
talking about fear, the devil using fear. Absolutely correct. How does he scare people? He scares cowards. He scares people who can't fight. He scares women. He scares people who are not prepared to stand up and resist. So masculine empowerment is absolutely and utterly how you battle the devil. You need men to be as strong and capable as possible.
Okay. This is a great pivot that I want to say. Everything you just said, I agreed with. Everything you just said, I agreed with. The only problem that I see is when you were like, shut up. Let me give you an example. Here's the reason why. Everything you just said was absolutely correct. And as a man, I could look at you, and if I had children, I'd be like, yo, listen to this man. He's being very, very correct. Now, my girl's going to be like, well, why did he just tell his girl to shut the fuck up? Like,
I said shush.
Yes. But okay, let me give you an example.
I was dismissive with my hand.
No, I know, but you know what this means?
Flicking the diamonds.
Get the fuck out of my face. Shh. This is what every girl here, shut up and go make me a sandwich. This is what comes off. So you're fighting getting men to be like, yes, but then you turn off the women. Here's the problem. You're trying to make men more men, but men, before they listen to you, are listening to the girls because they just got a girl. They don't want to lose them. They did everything that they could to get this girl.
Correct.
So here's the thing. When you see a fireman bust into a building that's on fire, he's not going to look at the person and be like, what the fuck? Why did you do this? He's going to be like, hey, it's okay. Look at me, grab my hand, come out. Why can't you take that approach?
I think I am. And it's actually funny when you say I lose to women, because I'll tell you something that most people probably do not know. I don't know if I've said it before. I have never had a negative interaction with a female ever since I blew up on the internet. I've not had a single woman complain at me.
I'm so sorry. Could you just use your mic?
Sure. I've never had a single woman come up to me and say anything bad. When I was in jail, I had thousands of love letters from women. I've never had a single woman complain about anything I say. Now, I agree. This dismissive, the diamonds, in the light, I get it.
Yeah.
Is it purposeful? I don't want to say it's purposeful. Do I find myself amusing? Certainly.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's funny.
But here's the thing: we could take a joke and we could filter the bullshit.
Yeah.
But females, like you said, they're based off of emotions.
Correct.
They're gonna feel their emotions first and then react. Men are like, oh, that's fucking hilarious. Obviously, he's not gonna tell his girl to do that. Yeah. Most likely, the real scenario is like, sweetheart, come sit down. Everything's fine. Listen to me. I'm gonna protect you.
Absolutely.
So I'm just curious to know, why don't you just take that approach? Because I know you know what you're doing. You're a chess master. Every move you make, you're making it for a reason. Are you doing it to be polarizing?
There's no light without dark. And I think that it's actually kind of interesting. I don't have many haters anymore. For a while I did. About a year ago, there was a big group of the internet that disliked me. Now I actually would argue I'm one of the most liked people on the internet.
I think people are waking up.
People, bro, if you read thousands of comments, they're all positive. I'm one of the most liked people on the internet, and I can give you reasons for why I believe that is. But the very few people left who try and dislike me, they fuel conversation, and it's interesting for me to hear. It's interesting for there to be debates regarding things I say. But I don't think I try and be polarizing. I try to be abrasive because I grew up in a world where I was hit very hard by life, and I think life is abrasive, and I think you learn lessons with a degree of abrasiveness. I think if things are too soft and too well explained, you don't learn them. Yeah. And you can apply that to nearly anything, right? You can go driving your car and drive fast, and you can nearly lose the tires 10 times, but you're not going to stop driving like an idiot until you hit a tree. And then you're going to be like, okay, I've learned my lesson. Yeah. So perhaps when I display a point, if I have to self-analyze and answer your question as a professional, when I try and get a point across, if I can do something or say something which is a bit abrasive, I feel like it teaches better. I'll give an example. If I say women aren't very good at parking, as opposed to females have no spatial awareness. So it's the same thing, but one of them enrages the world. In fact, both of them make them mad, but the second one really makes them mad. Don't call women females. They hate that.
I don't.
Yeah, but I'm just warning you. But then they all get upset.
They actually get upset if you call them a female?
Absolutely. I sit on these panel shows with a bunch of women, and I'll say
What do
something
you?
positive.
If you
I'll just say, well,
what do you respectfully call them?
females. I just call them female.
No, I know, but if they get offended by that, then what do you call them?
Well, exactly. But this is my point. So I can decide how abrasive I want to be. You can say the same thing in different ways, and then you're asking me why am I abrasive to be deliberately polarizing? Because I feel like it gets my message across better. I feel like it gets my message across better. And even now, the thing I just said, which brought this whole point up, me saying shh and being dismissive was a small way of showing a larger meta point. And the meta point was, I'm uninterested in what you're about to say and your fear. And I'm uninterested in your fear.
I get this. And usually somebody with a logic understands this. Yep. Somebody who's probably grew up with humor understands this. Somebody who grew up with a good father understands this. So this is my thing. God made you a leader. 100%.
I'll take it.
Okay. And now you're leading men.
Yep.
But there's a huge crowd of people that you will never understand or touch because I feel pridefully you don't give a fuck. You're like, if you can't come on with me on this journey, then get the fuck bent. Literally, metaphorically, and physically.
Well, not all minds are ready to be freed. They say it inside of the movie.
But which one is valuable enough to be free? Christ saved everybody. He didn't just come and pick a couple people.
Absolutely, but you can lead a horse to water, or you cannot force it to drink. And I feel like the reason why I'm now one of the most liked people on the internet, and the reason my comments are so positive, I have to answer that question, is because I feel like I'm heavily leveraged against chaos. The thing is with my brand, I don't entertain. I do entertain, but that's not my purpose. I'm trying to teach people things. I'm trying to give them things. Even the things I sell are beneficial. I have a school that teaches people how to make money online. It's beneficial. If you follow me, you can make money online. You'll start to train and go to the gym. You'll listen to some positive motivational things. You'll feel more motivated. I'll try and guide you towards God. Either one. I'm not even strictly Islam. I believe that if you are a religious person, you're a better person regardless of the religion you choose.
Because you have to follow your morals and have boundaries.
Absolutely. So all of my messaging is positive. So as the world gets more messed up, I'm leveraged against chaos. As the world becomes a bigger mess, as people struggle to survive to pay their bills, as people become more and more unhappy, as the wars start, all this craziness, people sit there and go, do I want to be entertained by clowns? Do I want to watch these streamers who are clowns? Do I want to be entertained? Or do I want a solution? Do I want some form of stability? Who is saying things which can actually help me, which actually will directly impact my life in real time and make me feel better? And that's me. So I'm not an entertainer in that way, which is why I believe my brand has become so strong and why most people like me. And it's also why a lot of people will forgive me for being semi-abrasive, because I feel like as the world gets more messed up, which it is, people are going to learn some very abrasive, harsh lessons. And sometimes when you've gone through a very harsh lesson, to be given a solution which isn't harsh, you're not going to believe it. To be given a harsh solution makes you feel like, okay, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. I was on podcast very recently. I don't think it's even come out yet. And I was explaining to somebody, we were talking about depression, which everyone asked me about.
I'm going to circle back to that. I have something in my notes for that.
Yeah, and I was saying that as a man, your life is supposed to be shit. My argument to this is people go, oh, I don't feel good. I say, good. Your life as a man is going to be terrible the entire time. Who told you at any point, I don't know what the Bible says. I haven't read it cover to cover like I've read the Quran. But I don't think the Bible says you're supposed to be happy all of the time. The Quran certainly doesn't.
Well, in Matthew, it says you're supposed to cast your anxiety and depression on him. So life isn't going to be easier, but you could go. Let me give you an example.
Sure.
When Jesus was walking on the water, this is the example I say. When a storm hits, the storm is still hitting.
Yep.
But there's a difference from you drowning in the storm or standing above the storm.
Absolutely.
And I think that you're always going to have challenges and obstacles.
Storms are going to come.
But I guarantee you, there's obstacles that you could walk through with a smile on your face that another man could fall apart.
Absolutely. I've just been through some, and I'm sure I'll have more.
What was it?
Well, it says in the Quran, just because you believe, you think Allah will not test you. Just because you believe in me, you think you're not going to be tested.
I think being tested is a great thing for
That's
you.
how God shows love.
Yeah.
Because because God's love is a disciplinarian love. It's a masculine love. It's like a father. A father shows love through putting you on the bike, letting you fall over, letting you hurt your knee, picking you back up, putting you back on the bike. That's how a father shows love, and God is the same.
Your father used to push you down when you used to be a kid.
That's right.
And your mom used to be upset about
this.
Let's time travel back to you as a child.
Sure.
Because I feel like what made you who you are now is based mostly off of how you were raised.
Absolutely.
Take me back.
Yeah, I think I had the best possible upbringing a person can have, which is good parents and no money. I didn't get famous or rich young, which I also thank the Lord for. I think a lot of these people who get famous online quite early, I think they miss out a lot of life.
It's not real life.
It's not real life.
It's not real life.
No, I had real jobs and I did real things and I was really broke and I was really on the bus and really trying to pay rent and doing real stuff for a long time.
I wrote a line in here, and I think you could relate to it. A poor man is broke. A rich man is broken. So if you're broke, you could figure out a way to be rich. But if you were given everything and you don't know how to manage this life, you're broken and you don't feel like you've earned anything. I've met more depressed rich men than I've met depressed broke men.
It's amazing you say that because there's two answers to that. My first one is, I love that you say that because I always say, I'm not rich. I'm a poor man with a lot of money. I always used to say that. And I don't want to brag or anything, but just because I get asked this question a lot. I've been extremely successful. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, I think our last valuation across everything we own we're almost at B now. So we're doing very, very, yeah. I'm a billionaire. Top G's a billionaire. So we're doing extremely well. That's the first thing. The second thing, it's great that you say that because I completely agree. Because if you're born with everything, if you're born with all this money, that you have no aspiration, nothing to actually grasp onto and trying to achieve, then money doesn't make you happy. But then you can analyze this from another angle, right? We were just talking earlier, we can always pivot back to who the matrix are, who's in charge. So let me ask you.
Do you have somebody that
Well, let me ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
If you're born into a dynasty, let's say a banking dynasty, and you're born a billionaire, and you have everything you've ever wanted ever, and money has absolutely no value at all, and a brand new Ferrari doesn't mean a thing. You could buy one every 10 minutes for the rest of your life. And money doesn't make you happy. What's the one thing that's going to make you happy?
Controlling others.
Controlling others. Power.
Yeah.
Ego. So then you sit there and start looking at things.
Because
and going,
games become real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you're like, okay, well, money doesn't satisfy me. What makes me feel important? Especially if you're going to add in. Let's add in another angle to it. Let's imagine you falsely believe, because it is falsely, that you're somehow genetically better than others. You're from this lineage. You're better than the other people. And the other people, the serfs and peasants, are struggling for money, and you have unlimited money because you're so smart and your family's always been so smart.
You'll have haughty eyes.
Yeah. So then you're going to sit there and go, well, why did they make people put on a mask when they walked in the restaurant and take the mask off to eat and then put it on to go to the toilet and then take it off to eat and then put it back on? Because
I have a
I'll tell you
theory.
why. Because it's funny.
You
to
think it's
these
just
people.
because it's funny?
Because it's an ego. Because it's ego.
I thought it was
power.
the test to see how far they could push something.
Compliance tests.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing. So when you really understand that people who are in charge of the world are completely, like you said, broken. They're broken people. Money can't satisfy them.